Hey everyone, this is S and Pratt, and fine, we'll talk about the Ishihara GX card. I actually had a video slotted to go up that makes this Ishihara sale look like an appetizer, but because so many of you requested this topic, we're going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to talk about the sale, I'm going to give you my opinion on the card, but more importantly, we're going to really talk about what it represents, because there's a lot more to this auction besides the literal price and card. So the Ishihara GX card was given to Ishihara for his 60th birthday. He is the president of Nintendo. This was the standard issue TCBI Nintendo behind the scenes closed curtain private event. And it has Ishihara front center on the card. You can see his face right there, like reaching out for a Master Ball, kind of Da Vinci-esque, like he can't quite grab it. For some people, the real faces on the card are a love it or hate it, make it or break it situation. I don't know who'd be crazy enough to buy a Nintendo product with a massive face on it, but at the end of the day, it sold for $12,900. So what we don't know is how many were distributed. This copy was definitely not Ishihara's copy. I can actually verify that definitively. I spoke to the seller of the card for a couple hours on the phone. Also, I know the exact individual that sold it to them. I'll disclose a little bit more privately in Patreon because I don't want to entangle anything publicly. But at the end of the day, we know for sure this was not Ishihara's card. So it's not a one-on-one. Unfortunately, we don't know the exact amount that were distributed. Was it 30, 50, 100, 200? We don't know, but it is seemingly rare for what we can ascertain. What we can understand from talking to staff, it was this closed door, private, one and done event. So the card is seemingly rare. Now, my opinion on the card. I'm going to talk about what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then after that, I'm going to tell you why that's completely irrelevant. So bear with me. So my opinion is what I like, the rarity. I think rarity has legs no matter what it is. No matter what it is, rarity is a good thing, which we're going to do a deep dive into that in a little bit. But I like the rarity aspect. More importantly, I like the unique art. Talk about rarity. That's a really rare occurrence, especially for English. You don't see that often outside the world's cards. And more importantly, artwork that ties into its release. Like it literally has Ishihara on the card. So I think you can figure out what's going on. It's in the name. His face is there. Might have something to do with Ishihara. So I like that. I like that it ties into that. It's reminiscent of like the OG prize cards. That's a cool thing. That's always fun for collectors and just exciting overall. And I think that's partly why this was like the talk of the town. This is why it was so exciting, is because it just blindsided everyone. It's like, whoa, this card's unique. It isn't like some stamp or some variant or some stain or off-center miscut, whatever. It's like, oh, this is just a genuinely unique card. So that's what I like about it. Now, what I don't like about it is what I already mentioned earlier. We don't know how many copies were awarded. Now, I'm someone who always highlights the difference between intended distribution and market availability. But at the end of the day, I'd at least like someone to just pop up and be like, hey, I was at the event and there was a head count of, let's say, 300 people. So we know that like a ballpark estimate could be 300 potential copies. It would just be nice to have some type of tangible range, guesstimate, something. Unfortunately, we really don't have much of that at all. So that's the only thing I don't like. But again, to give you the other side of the coin for that aspect, even if we knew, even let's pump it up a little bit. Let's add a couple zeros. Say it's 100. Say it's 200. Intended distribution is not market availability. Look at something like University Magikarp comes to mind. University Magikarp has actual documentation. You can look it up. It's on E4. It's on the internet. 1,000 copies was the intended amount for that event. 21 years later, we haven't even seen half of that. We haven't even seen a fraction of that. The current pop report for the Unicarp is still like sub 50. And that also includes like the multiple regrades that are in the pop, the inflated pop. So at the end of the day, intended distribution does not equal market availability. It's rare to almost impossible or improbable that you'll see every copy hit the market at some point. So even though we don't know the exact release information, that is the silver lining, is that if there is, which we know there's multiple copies, we just don't know how many zeros on the back of that. Even if you want to go worst case scenario, it still does not equate to market availability. Now let's get into the fun part of the video. Let's do the little deep dive into rarity. I really want to talk about this point because the most exciting part of this auction for me was what it represents. So the auction ended at $12,900, and I was not surprised. I was not surprised because all the variables I mentioned. It's rare, it's unique art. It got people interested, got people talking. More importantly, we're gonna throw some sales at you. We're gonna talk about some history. We're gonna talk about other hobbies, starting with the ninth Lucky Stadium that sold PWCC. Ironically, it sold for almost the exact same price as this auction. Very similar. And why I want to start with that one is because Rarity does not care about your feelings. You heard it here first. That's a new SM Pratt original variation of the market does not care about your feelings. More specifically, Rarity does not care about your feelings. So if you are that person who doesn't like the face cards, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's still sold for $12,900. If you're someone who thought the ninth Lucky Stadium was a weak grade, and maybe that was true, it still doesn't matter because it sold for $13,000. You know, if you're someone who's still to this day, I remember when I sold an Illustrator, one of the first illustrators I sold for $50,000, and there was just like a tidal wave. There was a whole cavalcade of just butthurt and salt. It was like a Louisiana, New Orleans salt funeral. So many people were like, oh, that's fake. That didn't happen. We even had a guy from Japan come in with his blog and tell us how, oh, there's more than actually 20 copies of this card. Guess what? Still sold for $50,000. And that is the reality. It doesn't matter what I think. Doesn't matter what Scumbag Pratt thinks. Doesn't matter what Shade City thinks. Doesn't matter what, the Golden Ivory Towers think. It does not matter at the end of the day because Rarity is self-evident. Rarity is inherently valuable. More importantly, right now we are in a Super Saiyan God Ultra Mega optimized market. The market has never been more optimized than it is today. Everybody and their dog is selling, flipping, ripping, taping, vaping. Everybody is an LLC. Everybody's gone from, yeah, I have this card too. We have this card. We are buying this card. We are doing this. Everybody now is selling. So therefore, I remember calling this with one of my friends 5 years ago. I remember telling them, I was like, yeah, trophy cards are definitely niche, but I'm bullish on them because they're rare and they have the least amount of risk of saturation. Now here we are in the mega ultra super optimized market. And when you have businesses that are in the game now that have, and I saw this coming because I saw it with sports. I saw it with sports. I saw it a little bit with video games and Magic, of course, is a completely different entity. But the bottom line is you have businesses now with rolling capitals of six figures, some even $1 million annually is what they're spending. Millions of dollars to just keep their, just the cost of business. You have auction houses. They're doing almost $1 billion in sales. So they have an unbelievable rolling capital. They can spend beyond any, that's why I always say sperm of the sperm whale. So there's so many big players in the game now that can buy what's available. They can't buy Rarity in bulk. It's very easy to go out and buy any booster box. Like you can still to this day buy any booster box. It's not an exaggeration. You can't buy every trophy card. And if you do, it is going to be a new record price almost every single time. So that is why Rarity does not care about your feelings. To throw some other examples at you, like the English Pika, my guesstimate for this, it hasn't auctioned in a comparable way to this one, meaning that we haven't seen a graded example of the full arts or the half arts go up with a legitimate business in a live organic bid auction. We haven't seen that for years. So it's probably going to, I think this is obvious for most people, it's probably going to hit the same echelon, the same ballpark. Even if you go outside that, look at something like your Nintendo World Championship card or your stadium events. Things that are just, again, naturally, organically rare. They are impossible to optimize. It really just doesn't matter at this point. You can be a billionaire. You still can't catch them all because the cards are just so spread out. The other day, just to drive this point home, that collection, I think it was Choke who put it up. He posted that thread. I think it was all over Twitter about that Japanese TV show thing where we saw this new trophy card, 20 years later? That's what it's all about right there. It's exciting to see that type of stuff. But the point being is, this is the singular owner of that card. So it's like, how do you get that card? You have $1 billion. It's like you can't get all of these cards at this point now because Rarity is impossible to optimize. Again, it doesn't matter if you don't like the face on the card. It doesn't matter if you don't like the Ishihara GX. You have to at least respect that aspect of it because it's an inherent component, an inherent reason for why it did so well in auction, for why it was so exciting for people. And, to throw another example at you that comes to mind, I remember talking on Discord about Magic because I'm putting together Alpha Set behind the scenes. And we were just talking about, strategies for when you're trying to complete a set. And usually the strategy is get the biggest stuff first. Get the big hitters first. It's true for Pokemon. If you're doing first dead base, you want to get the Charizard, you want to get the Blastoise, you want to get the Venusaur, you want to get the Hollows out of the way. Why? Because the non-Hollows are probably going to have a much smaller growth margin over time. So, going to Magic, look at something like Alpha, which is just the rarest, standard Magic set. And by standard, I mean, I'm sure someone's going to make this correction, so I got to stay ahead of it here. I don't mean standard as it's in the standard rotation playability. Standard in the sense that it's not some like obscure, like whatever Garfield promo or something, that his wife designed or whatever. The point is that the Black Lotus in 9 months, the BGS 9.5 Alpha Lotus went from 88,000 and doubled to 166,000. That is unreal. What is that? Like plus 88,000 in 9 months? Where if you look at like the unplayable common alpha cards, pick your poison. Even just say they're $100 to make it easy. You're 26 years later at $100. So that's that aspect again of rarity. Doesn't care about your feelings. Rarity is something that is just completely here we go, new word, unoptimizable. You cannot optimize rarity. It's just impossible. Like there is just nothing you can do. Even like my position with trophy cards. The only reason I could build it that way is because I took that first massive risk of being first to market and also being super bullish. I mean, buying cards above prices at the time that people didn't want to pay. They didn't want to pay over $10,000 for an illustrator. And I was like, I will. I'll do that, what, now, like 6 times? 5, 6 times? So the point is that rarity is just impossible to optimize. This auction is another data point for that trend. You can go down the line, like I said, in video games, Magic, sports. Just pick the rarest, the most historic, the top, everything in all of those categories. It's all universally true. Even if you wanted to get into the contrived stuff, which I don't like the contrived modern sports, like the refractor, super refractor stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still true. Even that Tom Brady card, which I like these a little bit more, even though they're kind of contrived, but like that Michael Jordan, what are they, the green, what is it, the RGB, BG, something green with Michael Jordan on it. But at the end of the day, I like those gem cards. I like that rarity aspect. Rarity has legs. Even if you want to throw some salt and you want to do a salt parade and talk about how it's not organic, I don't like this, I don't like the face on Ishihara's card, I think that's a weak grade, the illustrator has more copies than we thought. Doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter. The market is too big at this point. You have big players in this game now, and it's still early days. Like, we're not 15, 20 years down the road where the average discretionary income is 5 figures. When we get there, you'll really see what rarity looks like. We're already getting a taste of it. This Ishihara was a taste of it. So that's what I have for you on the card. Hopefully it's what you wanted. Hopefully it delivered. And like I said, I had another video scheduled to come out that makes this one look like an appetizer. So now that we finished the appetizer, we'll move on to the main course after this one. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you like the face cards, if you don't. But that is pretty much it, guys. Till next time.